What's up guys, I'm Phoenix Master 1 and welcome to my builds guide and unit review of Attuned Peony, Mycin, and Marla. So Attuned Peony is the second attuned unit that we have got on this banner along with Triandra, and she has got Flower of Caring as her axe as a flying dancer. So this gives her minus some special cooldown and it grants the following to the allies in the cardinal direction. So they're able to get +5 attack and speed in the combat, and they also heal up 5 HP after the combat. So this makes for a pretty nice support for a lot of the tanks and also for the units which are going to be stacking up speed for dodge tanking. And then at start of combat, if her HP is at or above 25%, she can get +5 to all of her stats, and she can get additional +4 to all of her stats if there's any kind of ally present in the cardinal direction. So this allows her to get +9 to all of her stats essentially, which is pretty good for a dancer. And then she can also get 40% damage reduction on foe's first attack, and she herself heals up 5 HP after the combat. So this axe is pretty good, providing some good offenses to Peony and also some self-sustain with the healing and also the damage reduction. And the best part is definitely the support, which can help the tanks heal up the HP and also get the extra attack and speed. For more support, she does have her Preferred Dance and Tender Dream, so this is going to be refreshing the target allies action. And it also gives +4 visible buff to all stats and gives the order status along with Canto 1 status to the target ally and also any kind of allies that are in the cardinal direction of her and the target allies. So it's kind of like Gentle Dream, but it's a bit better by giving the Canto 1 movement, and instead of the debuff neutralization of Gentle Dream Plus, you basically get the Canto, so it could be helpful for the positioning. And then she also comes with a tier 4 version of a dance skill in Rock Slide Dance. So if any kind of dance skill is used, then it gives the Canto 1 to the dancer themselves. So it's pretty good for retreating for the dancers. And the target ally gets +6 speed and defense buff and also the dodge status. So this is amazing for any kind of speed stacking tank because they can outsource the dodge status by Peony's Rock Slide Dance. And this way they wouldn't really have to run Speed Smoke 4 to get the dodge status. And if they already have some kind of damage reduction skills, then they can just stack it up. And even flyers, cavaliers, and armors can get access to this dodge status. And this is going to be helpful for many of the faster armor tanks as they can get the dodge status on top of Savvy Fighter or Hardy Fighter. And she does provide extra speed with her weapon and also the healing, so it is going to be amazing for many of the fast tanks. Rock Slide Dance 3 is a pretty good skill that could be given to many other refreshers, and it's a bit different than Firestorm Dance 3, which gives the target ally the Desperation status. So it is more made for the nukes, while Rock Slide Dance is a lot more useful for tanking. This skill can be given to a lot of dancers, and if you're an infantry dancer, then you can easily give the null follow-up status to your infantry allies and also stack it up with the dodge status from Rock Slide Dance. So pretty much making any kind of unit a God Sword unit or a God unit. And then you can also get access to Attack Oath Echo if you only have a Preferred Dance. So Peony can be useful for that inheritance. Mythic dancers are going to be appreciating Rock Slide Dance, especially the offensive Mythic dancers, because they're going to be part of Mythic core of many players. So you can just run this on Peony, but because she has Gentle Dream Plus as her Preferred Dance, she can already get the Oath Echo skill. So you can just run Aerobatics for the teleportation. And again, Infantry Speed Tactic could be run if you want to give out the null follow-up status as well. And Mythic Peony gives a lot of status effects, so it is going to be making it pretty easy for a lot of the Attack Speed Prime users to activate their skill. Dancers like Tethys can also provide the debuff support with Tamari Dagger and also stacking it up with Defense Rest Ploy and also running the skill and also taking advantage of the Oath Echo skill. And you can also run this on units that can run Infantry Pulse 4 so that you can pre-charge someone's Vital Astra, Godlike Reflexes, and stuff like that. Fallen Indian also provides the Special Charges status, which could be helpful for many of the units to trigger their specials or just loop something like Godlike Reflexes. And Raisin can also make use of this and also get the Attack Oath Echo skill at the same time, and because he's a flying dancer, Guidance 4 and Soaring Guidance are going to be the amazing support that he can provide. It can also be given to Rearm Plumeria from last month, who can give you the charge status and also the foe penalty doubler effect, which can be helpful for many of the tanks. And she can also trigger the ploy skills, which is another form of support. So basically you want to give this dance skill if you're going to be using your dancers with tanks. Back to Attuned Peony, she also has Crossburst Speed as a new skill, which does go really well with her playstyle from her weapon and her assist with the cardinal directions. So she can give +10 speed along with this skill and her weapon. And because of being an attuned unit, she does come with an attuned skill, an Attack Oath Echo. And at start of turn, if unit is within 2 spaces of an ally, then it can grant the unit +6 attack buff and the order status. So this is going to be really helpful for Peony because she doesn't really have to ever run aerobatics, flyer formation, or any of those skills to teleport to her allies, and she's always going to be able to teleport and then get the Canto from Rock Slide Dance. So that is really helpful for her as a dancer, and this could be inherited to the other units as well. And even though it can be outsourced at this point in the game, and we're probably going to be getting even better skills in the future on these attuned units, it can still be helpful for many of the units in their X slot. And just as a recap, attuned units basically work like the rearmed units, but keep in mind that even units with preferred weapons can use these echo skills. However, you cannot use the echo skills on units with preferred skills like preferred dances, exclusive specials, passives, and assist skills. As you've seen before with my example, Mythic Peony cannot really get Attack Oath Echo at the same time while getting Rock Slide Dance, so that's a mistake you don't really want to be making, especially if you have a unit that actually has a good preferred skill. Attack Oath Echo skill can be given to any kind of flyer or infantry unit, and the Echo skills still do have the inheritance restriction, so you have to keep that in mind. And many flyers and infantry units can make use of this Oath Echo skill if they don't really have a preferred skill. Still, I'm going to be going over some of the options that you can look out for, and it can give you an idea on which kinds of units you want to run the Oath Echo skill on. Citrine is definitely going to be an amazing user of this Oath Echo skill because she can spread the special charges status by running the Pledge skill in her slot C and by also getting the order status from this Oath Echo skill. And this is going to be really good for her and also for her allies. So Citrine users definitely win. And we also have Ascended Celica, who does have an older preferred skill in the form of Soul of Zofia, so you can just trade off and run Magical Follow-Up, which is better anyways. And you can just run Flare and the Finish skill so that she can get the healing, and Looper Miracle. So many units with older preferred skills can just get rid of them and still run the Oath Echo skills. And then we've got Halloween Tamara, who does have bonus doubler 4 and gives herself the +6 speed and defense buff from her weapon. So if you want to get the attack buff, then you can just run the Oath Echo skill, and she doesn't really come with the preferred skill, so she can easily run this and take advantage of her bonus doubler. Moving on to more specific use cases for certain game modes. If you're a veteran player of Fae and if you're really competitive about Ether Raids, then you might have gotten a +10 air, as she has been rerun many times. And if you're trying to use air as a smite bot in the modern times, then you can definitely give her the ploy skill, the sabotage skill, so that she can provide that support with her resistance. And you can also use the Oath Echo's teleportation to basically use it as an aerobatics to teleport to the allies and then smite them. And of course, the status effect of the Oath Echo skill can be helpful for setting up the prime skill and activating its distant counter condition. And even a strong and recent unit like Lucia can make use of this skill, so it's something you can do, especially in the Astro season if you're trying to easily meet the condition of the prime skill. And Oath Echo skill can also be useful if you're running Pledge skill in the slot C to loop something like Godlike Reflexes on many of the tanks. So this is going to be giving you another status effect, which again goes well with the prime skill. When it comes to Ether Raid's defense, again Citrine is going to be a pretty useful unit, and she can also provide the ploy support if you want to build her up that way, so that is also an option that she can do. And at the same time, she can give the order status to everyone. Even though in Ether Raid's defense, Brattlecatcher teams are really common, but if you're not running Brattlecatcher, then this could be helpful for spreading that effect. And same goes for Eldigan, who's mostly going to be wanting to run Fortress defense to increase his defense so that he doesn't really get isolated by Millas. So you can try and run Oath Echo as a way of teleporting. And if you're going to be running Windtribe Claude on a flyer line with Freyr and Legendary Hinoka, then he's going to be getting enough status effects as it is, so you can just replace his Slotsy skill with something like Colorless Feud, and then you can also get rid of Deep Star on a flyer line like this so that you can run Desperation 4 and trigger 2 lethalities back to back. And it is also going to be ignoring any kind of miracle effects of Fallen Marias. So this is something that you can do on Windtribe Claude, who is a really insane nuke, and he can just run Flared Sparrow. And flyer lines can trade off running Deep Star for having Desperation 4 and triggering back-to-back lethalities, which is going to be really devastating, and Oath Echo is going to be giving you another status effect. For arena usage, this is going to be pretty helpful if you're running something like Attack Speed Pledge in the slot C of your arena unit, and this can also help you trigger the prime skills a lot more easily in arena, which is a bit harder to do, especially for the free-to-play players and low spenders. So you can try and get 2 status effects from Pledge and Oath Echo, and then you can outsource Null Follow-Up status and hopefully another kind of status from an ally. So this is going to be activating the prime skill for the usage in arena. And duo units like Ninja Lin, who many people have plus in merge and don't really have a preferred skill, can also make use of this so that they can get their mobility and also support their other allies by running Guidance 4 in their slot C. And finally, we have got everyone's favorite game mode in Summoner Duels. So this is the most cutthroat competitive game mode, and you can definitely try and run Oath Echo skill on units that are going to be frontliners. So this way you can basically position a unit like Summer Male Shez with his drawback and the Canto in his weapon, and also he can run Guidance 4 or Soaring Guidance, and Gambit is going to be giving him a lot of damage reduction and the true damage, and the Unity skill which Peony can give is also useful to him. So if you're a big Summer Male Shez user, then this is going to be an amazing skill that you can use for Summoner Duels. And at this point in the game, Warbreaker is definitely not as good as Guidance 4 or Soaring Guidance on Duo Thor, so you can run the Oath Echo skill on them as well, and this is again going to be helping you just position your units a lot better. And you can also run this on Halloween Anna, because if you're going to be using her with Guidance 4 or Soaring Guidance as your frontliner, then you're going to be missing out on the Rain Snap skill, so you can get the extra status effect from the Oath Echo skill, which does work for her weapon and also goes towards the Prime skill, and you will just have to outsource one other status effect so that you can get the distant counter effect. Overall, Attune Peony is an amazing support dancer who can provide the healing to her allies and also the dot status from her Rock Slide Dance, and because she's a flying dancer, she does have a lot of supportive options, and she also has good fodder as an attuned unit. And overall, I do feel like attuned Triandra is a bit better dancer than Peony, but still Peony does have better inheritance, which is useful as an attuned unit. I do like the supportive effect of Triandra a lot more because it's a lot more unique than giving the healing, which we have seen on many units. But still, getting healing out of your dancer is an amazing support, and it definitely cannot be underestimated for many of the dodge tanks and fast tanks, because getting the self-sustain from your dancer, who gives you a bunch of status effects, is really good for the self-sufficiency and also for the roll compression. And Attuned Peony is going to be seeing most usage in Aetheryte's offense, because when it comes to tanking support, she's definitely going to be one of the better units that you can run on your team. If you're going to be running Peony on a budget, then you can simply run Moonbow as her special and just keep her base kit, which is already pretty good. And you can stack up even more speed by running Drive Speed as the Sacred Seal for providing that support to your allies, and it is going to be helping with the dot status that Rock Slide Dance gives, because it is going to be speed-based damage reduction. So that could be run, and you can also use her with Infantry Speed Tactic so that you can give another status effect on top of Rock Slide Dance and also her Tender Dream. So this is going to be helping many of the infantry allies. And finally, you can also give her Guidance 4 or Soaring Guidance as her slot C skill, because this is going to be providing extra attack and speed to those allies, and also the half null follow-up effect. And you can just teleport even before Peony uses her dance skill and gives everyone the order status. And still, Guidance 4 and Soaring Guidance does give you that 2-space teleportation, so it is still quite useful. You can also use Attuned Peony as a Gale Force dancer, just like Attuned Triandra, but I do prefer having Attuned Triandra for that 5 damage that she can do. But still, that doesn't mean that you can not use Peony as a Gale Force dancer and getting 2 actions by using Gale Force and Heavy Blade on her. And she does have an attack super boon along with Attack Oath Echo, which she comes with, so she's going to be having decent enough attack. Still, Heavy Blade can be annoying to meet the checks off, and you also have to keep in mind that the healing that she gives is going to be in the cardinal direction, so keep in mind that your Gale Force Initiator does not accidentally heal up the HP and goes over the range of Wings of Mercy allies. So that is something you will have to keep in mind if you're going to be using Attuned Peony as your Gale Force dancer. And if you have a lot of premium skills, and if you want to make sure that she can trigger Gale Force a lot easily, then you can give her Flared Sparrow and also Speed Defense Hold so that she can provide even more support and set up the Flame Terrain. And Quicken Pulse can be used so that you can have a 3 cooldown Gale Force if you're going to be pulsing her down with someone like Garrick, Legendary Hector, or stuff like that. And you can even give her these special charges status so that you can easily trigger her Gale Force. Unlike Attuned Triandra, I don't really think that Attuned Peony is going to be that useful in something like Aetheryte's defense, whereas Attuned Triandra can be a really annoying unit with a lot of Flared Sparrow nukes, even on Aetheryte's defense. So Aetheryte's offense is definitely going to be the main domain for Attuned Peony. And then finally, if you do Plus and Nurture, then she could be used in Arena. Even though she doesn't really score the highest, she does have the Preferred Dance and also provides the Rock Slide Dance and can run Guidance 4 for even more support. Sir Mycen is finally in the game as a Lance Cavalier, and he does come with a Preferred Lance and Whirly Lance, giving him -1 special cooldown. So this makes Bonfire into a 2 cooldown special, and at start of turn, if he's within 2 spaces of an ally, then he can grant himself and the allies within 2 spaces of him the +6 defense and resistance buff, and also the dull alt status, which is going to be ignoring any kind of visible buffs of the enemies. So we have seen this before on Valentine Lucina, on Veluria's Weapon Refine. We also got Noah who can give this out to his support ally, but Sir Mycen can give this to any kind of ally in 2 spaces and also to himself, so he doesn't really need to run any kind of Lult skill as he's going to be ignoring the visible buffs of the enemy. And then if he initiates combat or if he's within 2 spaces of an ally, then he can inflict -X debuff on opponent's attack and defense, and this X depends on 20% of his visible defense added by 6. So this is going to be taking his defense stat into the account at start of the combat, and that's why the +6 defense buff from the primary condition of this weapon does have good synergy. So you can debuff the enemy for quite a lot of attack and defense, and that is going to be helping him tremendously as a bulky Lance Cavalier, especially someone with 46 base attack who also has a super boon. And then he can also make a guaranteed follow-up attack, which does help with his 16 low speed. And finally, he can also inflict the guard effect on the foe per attack. So again, this does help him as a bulky Lance Cavalier so that he doesn't really have to run any kind of guard skills, and he can just focus on other things with his passives. So this is a pretty nice weapon for a unit like him, and it not only gives him extra bulk and also the debuffs on the enemy, but also it allows him to function as a supportive unit by giving that dull alt status. And he also comes with attack defense clash 4, so this is going to be helping him get extra attack and defense, and also give him the debuff neutralization to his attack and defense if he moves 2 or more spaces. And he also comes with Joint Close Guard, which is going to be a pretty nice supportive skill and also does help him, but there are definitely other slotsy skills that he can run on him. So comparing him to the other premium bulky Lance Cavalier, as you can see, he is going to be having higher attack than them, and he has got as much defense as Dusil and as much resistance as Zeke. So he's certainly not a bad unit when it comes to his class type and also his stat spread, but still there is a lot of competition when it comes to Lance Cavaliers, and a lot of them are going to be really fast, but still Grandpa Mycen could be useful for his support, and he is going to be able to be a pretty bulky Cavalier if you give him the high investment skills. If you're going to be running him on a budget, then you can simply give him Reposition and Hit and Run as the slot B skill, and Hit and Run is our bootleg Canto, so this is going to be a decent skill on ultra budget, and you can just double down on Close Guard and run it as a Sacred Seal as well. But if you're going to be investing a bit more into him, and if you've got a Fallen Gustav, then you can give him attack defense Neotrace, which is going to be helping him in both of the phases, and it also stacks up even more attack and defense debuff along with his weapon, and Attack Smoke 4 is also something you can get from Fallen Gustav at the same time. So because he's such a slow Cavalier, the follow-up negation can be helpful against the enemies that don't really have null follow-up or half null follow-up. And if you want to go all out with a support and maybe use him as a support unit in something like Ether Raids, then you can try and run a Snag skill on his slot base so that he can smite the allies and simply affect the enemies with the Sabotage status. And he can also run Infantry Speed Tactic so that he can provide the null follow-up status to the infantry allies. And he can also run Attack Tactic so that he can fully buff them up with his weapon and also his Slotzian Sacred Seal. If you want to make full use out of the tankiness that he has got as a bulky Lance Cavalier, then Gambit 4 is going to be the best slot B skill that he can run, even though he has got a minus in special cooldown weapon. I kind of wish that he didn't so that he could get the full effect out of it, but still, Gambit 4 with Ether or Miracle is going to be giving you 40% damage reduction and also 10 true damage per hit. And Attack Defense Clash 4 is still a pretty good skill for melee tanking, and Alarm Attack Defense is something that he can run to get the Canto effect. And even though it is going to be a bit redundant with the defense buff that he gives, it is still going to be giving you that extra defense in the combats. So it is going to be a pretty good slotsy skill that he can run along with Gambit. And the Squadis BT3 seal is pretty good for giving him extra HP, attack and defense. And because the debuffs from his weapon work on the visible defense of his, you might think of running Solid Ground or Fortress Defense Res, but in my opinion, it doesn't really make like too big of a difference, and you might as well get additional effect from something like the Clash skill for the debuff neutralization. So I'm not the biggest fan of running Solid Ground and then reducing his resistance so that he can just have like 2-3 extra points of debuff on the enemy, or even Fortress Defense Res, which is going to be reducing his attack. So there are definitely other options that he can run so that he can actually get the other extra effects which are going to be helpful in the combat. And finally, at max investment, he can also make use of distant counter skills like Distant Stance, and he is going to be getting that damage reduction out of Gambit. So damage reduction along with his attack debuff and the guard effect is really good for a bulky Lance Cavalier, and again you can get the Canto out of the Alarm skill. And if you don't really want any kind of overlap between the visible buffs, then Alarm attack speed is something that can work out, and it is going to be fully buffing him up along with his weapon. Marla is the Grand Hero battle unit that we've gotten from this batch, and she's a red infantry mage with the Deer Tome, so we hadn't really got the red version of the Deer Tome, so just like her sister, she does come with this, which is going to be giving her +5 attack in the combat, and inflicts the -5 attack debuff and the guard effect on the foe in the combat. So it's a decent weapon, but still we just have much better weapons now, and at high investment, Arcane Eclipse is definitely going to be the weapon that you should be giving her. She also comes with Sabotage Resistance 3 at 5-star and Infantry Hexblade 3 at 4-star. So Infantry Hexblade can be a pretty nice skill for getting the adaptive damage on your melee allies, and I have a feeling that we're probably going to be getting the tier 4 version of this skill in a couple of months, so maybe this could be helpful as a bridge fodder if you're going to be getting the tier 4 version of the skill. And because she's a Grand Hero Battle Red Infantry Mage, she has got a stat line that is absolutely trademarked for those units with high attack and high resistance. She does have a super boon in her resistance, and her base attack is definitely pretty high at base 46, and her speed and defense are not the highest, and we can definitely compare her to the other existing Red Infantry Mages in the Grail pool. So we have got Alfred here, who is going to be having a lot more extra HP than he needs, so Marla just ends up having better attack and better resistance, which is going to be helping her not only nuke better but also run the ploy skills better. And we have also gotten Hilda, who does come with her own preferred weapon, which is definitely a rarity. So this allows her to get the dominant status, and this is definitely a lot better now because we've got access to the Sabotage tier 4 skills and also the tier 4 ploy skills, which can disable the grand strategy of enemy units. So she can work out with those skills and do a lot of true damage with the dominance effect. So overall, I do think that Hilda is a better red infantry mage because of her preferred weapon and the tools that we have gotten nowadays that she can enjoy. But still, Marla can be the modern red infantry unit that you can invest in, especially with an arcane weapon. Speaking of arcane weapons, Marla actually has the same attack stat as a premium 5-star logged unit in Rearmed Ophelia, and she also has even more resistance than her. So this just goes to show you that if you're a rearmed unit without a preferred skill, then even a free-to-play unit can come out later on who can just take your weapon and all of your skills and just use it a lot better. If you're going to be building up Marla on a budget, then you can resistance refine her weapon, and I do like Iceberg a lot more than Glaciers for its lower cooldown. Even Glimmer could be an option, and you can run Reposition and give her the Fury slot skill so that she can have better triggers for her Sabotage skill, and you can also run the Squad Seal so that you can have more visible attack and resistance. If you're going to be investing heavily into her with the merges and dragon flowers and everything, then you can try and run this build from the Divine Codes and Limited Ephemera manuals. So again, you can just stick with the Deer weapon if you can only give her the Arcane weapon, and you can run Iceberg. And Lull Attack Resistance is easily available in Divine Codes, and you can get Attack Resistance Solo 4 and Attack Resistance Menace from the Limited Ephemera manual that we did get a couple of months back in the form of Fallen Male Morgan. And because this weapon doesn't really give her any kind of guaranteed follow-up attack, you can run Quick Repose Sacred Seal, and Attack Resistance Unity is also available in the Divine Codes, but if at some point you're going to be giving her Arcane Eclipse, then the Unity skill is not going to be having good synergy because Arcane Eclipse does have the attack debuff neutralization, so that's why you can stick with the solo skill, which you can get at the same time along with the Menace skill. And before going on to the Arcane weapon, I do want to mention Pumpkin Stem Plus from Halloween Sea Doll, who's going to be giving you a pretty nice weapon that has got bonus doubler 4 built in. And if you want to stack this up with bonus doubler 4 in the slot A and also in the Sacred Seal, then you can pretty much have 3 layers of bonus doubler and stats stacked with her. And you can run Special Spiral 4 so that you can loop Glimmer and also pierce through the damage reduction. And Ploy skill is going to be the slot C option for her with her high resistance. Now, going to the Arcane weapon as the obvious option, you can try and run this weapon, and because of the Quicken Pulse effect, you can try and pre-charge Iceberg from some kind of other infantry support or any kind of special cooldown support, and then she's going to be able to loop her Special Spiral. And if you do get Halloween Sea Doll, then you can also easily get Attack Resistance Finish from Rearmed Ophelia at the same time, and she's going to be able to do a lot of damage with Icebergs and also heal up the HP with the finish kill. And Arcane Eclipse does give you minus on special cooldown, so it is perfect for looping Iceberg, and it also provides you with the guaranteed follow-up attack, which is useful for her as she's not the fastest unit. And if you do have an extra attuned Peony, and if you really want to give her the Attack Oath Echo skill, then it can work out because most of the time she's going to be trying to run the Attack Resistance Ploy skill from her sister, which is going to be really helpful to her for doing even more damage and supporting your team. You can also run an AoE build with Arcane Eclipse giving you the Quicken Pulse effect, and it's not really all that hard for an infantry unit to get the special charges from their teammates. So this can easily be done, and you can loop the AoE specials with Special Spiral 4. Unfortunately, you're not going to be able to pierce through the damage reduction, but still, you're going to be getting that +5 true damage. And you can also get the true damage out of her Ploy skill if you run it in slot C, because exposure status is going to be adding to the true damage for the AoE special. So this is something that she can also use with her high attack stat, and her visible resistance is going to be increased with Still Water so that she can not only do better AoE damage but also trigger her Ploy skill as much as possible. And then finally, if you want to loop something like Glacies, then Time Pulse 4 is going to be the option that you can run, and it does stack up with Special Spiral 4. So you can loop Glacies once you've got it pre-charged, and this is going to be doing a lot of damage. Make sure to share this video with your friends, and I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, then make sure to leave a like and a comment, helps tremendously. And if you really enjoy, you could always support me directly by using super thanks down below or by becoming a YouTube member. And for more Fae videos, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as rearmed Ophelia after seeing Marla's stat spread. So with that said, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching and have a great day.
The seasons they turn, winter to spring.